All right, I have 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started. I don't see Reverend Dwight Moody in the audience to get us started with an invocation, so I'll ask Councilman Blankenship, would you mind giving us an invocation?
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for the blessings you've given us. We ask you to be with us in all that we do. As we come together tonight to do the business of the city, I ask you to give us the wisdom, the guidance that we need. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, and I'll call the meeting to order. This is the March 1st, 2016 regular council meeting. Let's all stand and say a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll ask Mrs. Hoffman to take roll call.
Mr. Meyer.
Here.
Mr. Burke.
Here.
Mr. Dunhoff.
Here.
Ms. Skidmore.
Here.
Ms. Sudkamp.
Here.
Ms. Pitts.
Here.
Ms. Kyle.
Here.
Ms. Cahill.
Here.
Mr. Cahill.
Here.
Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Mr. Blankenship.
Here.
Mr. Howard.
Here.
We have a quorum. I'll go ahead and make a quick mention here. We've been doing some work on the audio system, so you should be able to hear us a little bit better than in the past. But I will ask all the council members to please make sure you're speaking into the microphone. All right, the next item on the agenda here, or I guess one of the first items on the agenda, is the minutes from last meeting. You've received a copy of the minutes from the February 2016 regular council meeting and the February 16th, 2016 special council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to be made at this time? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt as presented. Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Ms. Skidmore. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is the approval of the agenda for this evening. You've received a copy of the agenda for the March 1st, 2016 regular council meeting. Are there any additions to be made at this time? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt as presented. Motion by Mrs. Kyle, second by Mr. Howard. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We'll move on to the special presentations. We've got an oath of office ceremony. I see Mr. Rob Newhouse in the audience.
Over here.
Oh, yeah, there he is. Okay, hey. Okay, so we've got Rob Newhouse for the Board of Adjustments. You wouldn't mind coming up? Do you have an assistant? Sure. Got Alex? Okay, you got a Bible?
He ain't coming. He ain't not coming.
He's comfortable right where he is.
All right, you'll put your left hand on the Bible and your right hand in the air. And at the end of this, you'll say, I do. I, Rob Newhouse, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability the office of Board of Adjustment member, according to law, and I do further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state nor out of it, nor have I sent a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any persons thus offending, so help me God. Welcome. All right, then next up we have Sherry Hoffman to be sworn in as City Clerk. All right, I, Sherry Hoffman, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as I continue a citizen thereof. And I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability the office of City Clerk, according to law, and I do further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state nor out of it. Nor have I sent a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help me God. Welcome.
Okay, I'll make this short because I know we have a long agenda. I just want to say that I thank you all for believing in me and giving me the opportunity to do this, and I just hope that I make each and every one of you very proud. And thank you to Missy for being a great mentor and helping get me to this point. Thank you. And before I sit down, I do have one more thing that I need to do. I'd like for Jennifer Megerly to stand up. Jen is our new Assistant City Clerk. She's been with Erlanger since 2008, and before that, she was at the City of Ellesmere, where she worked with Missy before Missy came over. So, congratulations, Jen. Thank you.
Of course we are.
All right, the next item on the agenda is our service award presentation. First up, we've got Tom Cahill, Jr., and I'll be presenting that.
Please go up there.
Sure. All right, this evening we're celebrating Tom Cahill, Jr., and recognizing his 15 years of service to the city of Erlanger. He joined the Erlanger Rescue Squad as a volunteer in March 1987. He became a certified EMT as well as a CPR instructor. In January 1992, he became the Rescue Squad's colonel. In December 1992, the Erlanger Fire Department and Rescue Squad merged, creating the Erlanger Fire EMS Department. Tom stayed on as a part-time employee until September 30th, 1993. In November 2006, the Erlanger residents voted for him to serve on council. His first term began on January 1st, 2007, and he's currently serving his 5th term. He's married to his wife, Shannon, and they have 3 children, Elena, Lauren, and Aiden. Tom comes from a family who believes in giving back to their community. His mom, Kathy, volunteered on the rescue squad, later becoming an employee, and currently serving on city council. His dad, Tom, has been very active in supporting his family over the years and in participating in the city functions. His sister, Kim, was also on the rescue squad, as well as a part-time employee later on the fire EMS department. His other sister, Chrissy, volunteered her time by helping their mom at events. In addition, his wife and kids have volunteered at city functions over the years as well. Please join me in congratulating Tom Cahill on 15 years of service.
I would really like to thank everybody. My parents' service above self has always been something we liked and enjoyed to do. It's been an honor and a privilege in the many things I've done in the city of Erlanger, and I'm hoping I can continue to serve in any capacity possible. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then next up we have Matt Allen. Mr. Fields will be presenting.
Whoop, whoop.
You knew that was coming, didn't you? I've had the privilege of working with Matt for the last 20 years. And I can tell you he was here a little bit, maybe even before I was. At least his family was. His father sitting back here tonight, our retired fire chief, Terry, 30-plus years here. The mayor was talking just a little bit about the Cahill family and the number of years of service that they have had with the city. I can tell you the Allen family is the very same way, and Matt is continuing that tradition. His father, fire chief, his brother here, also had the privilege of working with him as a police officer and then as a captain on the fire department. Matt started out as a explorer, I believe, in the fire department, then went to a volunteer fire department. And one thing that when Matt was talking about, I'd forgotten this, but he worked one summer with Public Works. And then he came to the police department. I had the privilege of working with him as a telecommunicator for several years. Then when we had our big expansion and took over dispatching for several other cities, Matt moved into the position of assistant manager of that operation. Did a very good job of that. And then so good a job that we decided that when in fact we had a director of information and technology position open, Matthew applied, and we were more than happy that he did. And he got that job, and he's been doing it for the last year and a half flawlessly. There's a lot of pressure when I said that, flawlessly. Yeah, we'll put pressure on him. Yeah. It's been a privilege. Matt's married, Jennifer. Got 2 fine children, Rory and Dakota. And like I said, the family legacy here. Matt, it's been a privilege for the 20 years, and I hope a couple more. A few more.
Thank you. Like Sherry said, I'll keep it short. I got a lot of people to thank. And when I say, first, I want to thank my family, especially my dad and my brother, who were such a great influence and role model and pushing me into the work ethic that they had, and just to be able to go further and further and try to outdo them. I don't know if I'll ever get to that point, but I'm going to try really hard for the city and its employees. So I appreciate everything and got a lot more years to go. So thank you.
All right, next up is the mayor's report. I'm just going to recap on a couple things that have been going on here recently. We've got the, we recently had the ceremonial groundbreaking of the hospital, the Sun Hospital. That's exciting. They're expected to start earthwork next month. We've got the CVS Pharmacy at the corner of Commonwealth and Dixie that's begun. We've got the Dollar General on Dixie that I saw they were getting ready to pour the they poured the footings. They're getting ready to pour the slab now on that. If you haven't already heard, Lindeman Elementary's Angela Gabbard was named Principal of the Year by the Kentucky School Counselors Association. So it's a big deal. And while I'm talking about Erlanger-Ellesmere schools, they asked me to mention that the kindergarten registration for the 2016-2017 school year will be starting soon. Registration for kindergarten will occur at each of our elementary schools on Wednesday, March 9th, and Thursday, March 10th, from 10 to 11 a.m. or 1 to 2:30 p.m. each day. If you're interested in more information on that, please see me afterward, and I'll share that with you. J.D. Dunhoff and I had a chance today to participate in the business engagement tour at the at Arnett Elementary. That was nice to see all those kids. So happy to see people come and visit them. But they are looking for mentors and volunteers to do one-to-one reading with the kids. So I'd urge all the council members to consider that, and also anybody from the public too. They need help, so be appreciated. I was going to mention quickly that we'll be celebrating a birthday for Miss Renee Skidmore coming up here soon.
Stopped counting those types.
29.
And just a few days after that, we'll be celebrating a birthday for Miss Kathy Cahill, too. So those will be coming up here in the next week. Congratulations. This past weekend, we had an event called Smile for Brooklyn in Lakemont. She is a 5-year-old that's been diagnosed with DIPG, and there was a tremendous outpouring of support from the community to go around and tie pink ribbons. The pink ribbons are to raise awareness and also to try to garner support. I'd ask that if you're interested in learning more about it, I do have pink ribbons up here. If you'd like to tie a pink ribbon on your tree or on your mailbox, I've got some up here, and it's also got a card in there where you can find some more information out about how you can donate to the cause. Do we have an idea how many people are signed up to speak this evening? Have we seen that yet? Okay. I was just going to try it. All right. There's nothing special there, too. I don't need to go into anything special there, so we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, and that is the reports of committees. First up, we've got Public Safety, Police. Mrs. Sedkamp, Mrs. Kyle.
Yes, I'm going to do our report tonight. First of all, we wanted to tell you that Sergeant Sterling has assumed Community Resource Officer duties. Lieutenant Lemming and Sergeant Claire have also assumed their new assignments and promotion. Next, you've probably all heard about this, the bank robbery that occurred at 3133 Dixie Highway, BB&T Bank, on February 8th, 2016. They got pretty many good photos of the suspect, and that was posted to the media and social media. And Sergeant Sterling located the suspect late in the afternoon on February 11th. And the suspect was taken into custody without incident, and subsequently he was charged with 3 counts of robbery. Dispatcher CA Shirley Peck and Dispatcher CA Lonnie Reese assisted in compiling the information on the suspect. Dispatcher CA Peck received information on the suspect from a resident of Warsaw and contacted Dispatcher CA Reese, who compiled information and turned it over to Detective Lose. The suspect was listed as high priority suspect prior to his apprehension. And then next we have recruit Garrett Haynes will be completing field training this month and will be assigned to second shift. And as the mayor said, we had the groundbreaking at Sun Behavioral Health Facility. Chief Wilson and several command staff members attended this groundbreaking. Several staff met with Governor Bevin, and the department also arranged security and traffic for the event. Subsequent to that ceremony, the Chief Operating Officer of Sun, Kim Whitelock, and her staff met with Chief Wilson and Lieutenant Eagler on 2/25/2016 to discuss planning and procedures with the new facility. And I believe it was Officer Sterling who took many pictures that he posted to Facebook. I think they were on Facebook.
Yeah.
I saw them somewhere. And he did an excellent job in spite of the tornado winds. It was really windy that day.
Oh, yeah, it was.
And then we have new recruits start at the Police Academy on 3/7/16. And that is the end of my report.
All right, thank you. All right, next item is the Public Safety, Fire, and EMS. Mrs. Skidmore, Mr. Meyer.
Ours is a little bit shorter. Oh, brother. What do you think this is, your birthday? Not yet. Fire EMS department made a total of 256 responses for the month. There were 96 fire incidents and 160 EMS dispatches during the month of February. There were 8 reported fires in the city of Erlanger and a total of 88 non-fire rescue events for the month. EMS responses included a total of 114 transported, 24 refusals, and 21 cancels or miscellaneous dispatches during the month. And it looks kind of like their inspections are right on target. They've completed to date 10%, so they may be a little bit behind, but sometimes the weather plays an important factor in that, so I think we're good. Go ahead.
Did anybody from the fire department have anything else to add? Nothing?
All right. Thank you. All right, next up, we've got Public Works. Mr. Cahill, Mr. Skidmore.
Yeah, Public Works employee Bob Martin. I'd like to congratulate him for his successful completion of his Category B pesticide applicator certification. And Mr. Dale Wilson and Ralph Snyder for volunteering their time for the Smiles for Brooklyn Lakemont Pink Ribbon campaign on Saturday, February the 27th. Our thanks to these gentlemen for taking their time to serve our community. I'd like to thank Mr. Bogart for participating in the American Lung Association Fight for Air Climb event held on February the 21st at the Crew Tower. All applicants had to raise a minimum of $100 to take on the challenge to climb 804 steps, which is 45 flights, to make a positive impact on the lives of those affected by lung diseases. We'd also like to thank Mr. Bogart for attending the Northern Kentucky Trails Forum with Council Member Pitts, held in Newport on February the 23rd. And we'd like to thank Mr. Wilson, Mr. Darty, Lambs, and Bogart with their attending the KLCIS Risk to Safety Conference in Owensboro, Kentucky next week. Thanks for the continuing commitment to safety. And Mr. Bogart, he's in the house. Anything else?
All right, thank you. All right, then we have administration. Mr. Howard, Mrs. Cahill.
Yes, Mayor, I just want to report myself on the property taxes collected. In February, we collected $29,516 in property taxes. And so far for fiscal year 15-16, we've collected $4,118,162. And our outstanding taxes right now for 15-16 is $94,689.
And I have upcoming events for the month of March. And on March the 12th, we have Erlanger Night at Silver Lake. This is for Erlanger residents only. This event is for Erlanger residents, only includes the indoor water park, bumper boats, as well as the activity play structures, including bouncy houses, slides, and tunnels. And then on March the 20th, activities will include visiting with the Easter Bunny, crafts, face painting, balloon animals, and goodie bags while supply lasts. Be sure to bring your picture if you want it taken with your child and the Easter Bunny. And then a new event on March the 26th is free golf clinic at Kenton County Golf Course. Residents of all ages can participate. Experts will cover the fundamentals such as grip, alignment, posture, and swing mechanics. And then we'd also like to congratulate Sherry on her appointment, Jen on Assistant City Clerk, and Missy for assuming her new role as Human Resources. We're excited to have them all stay with us and start their new roles here. And we have Sherry and Missy in the audience.
I have nothing further, sir.
All right, thank you, Sherry. All right, then next we have the Economic Development and Finance Committee. Mr. Blankenship, Mrs. Pitts.
Staff is in process of finalizing the March 5th preliminary budget estimates for fiscal year 2017 and the budget amendment for fiscal year 2016. The council budget retreat is scheduled for Saturday morning. Coffee and donuts will be available at 8:30. The budget presentation will begin at 9. We plan to have the meeting and discussion completed by noon. And this has nothing to do with our department, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. Is speaking of Saturday, March 5th, just a reminder, anybody who's Republican, that's your day to vote for the president. It's a caucus. It's from 10 a.m. Saturday till 4 p.m. If you live in Campbell County, you vote at Campbell County High School. Kenton County, you vote at Summit Middle School. And Boone County, you vote at Florence Baptist Church. And all other elections are on May 17th. And Greg's in the house.
All right, thank you. The next up, we've got the codes, building, and zoning. Mr. Dunhoff, Mr. Burke.
So Mr. Burke and I will report on February 4, 2016 Kenton County Planning Commission meeting. An application by the city was acted upon in their public hearing to rezone the property at 4300, 4400, and 44808 Dixie Highway from neighborhood commercial and residential to with a development plan to neighborhood commercial. For reference, these properties are the old Fifth Third property at Dixie and Cave Run, the Aldi's property, and the old building, previously occupied by the Joe Dog Grooming. The Kenton County Planning Commission's recommendation was to approve the application as presented. Now, our action is to make a motion requesting that the city attorney prepare the necessary legislation agreeing with Kenton County Planning Commission's recommendation to change the zoning of the aforementioned properties from NC and R2 with a development plan to NC.
Make a motion.
We've got a motion on the floor.
Second.
Who was that? Mr. Dunhoff?
Yeah.
Second by Mr. Dunhoff. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Now, at the February 16, 2016 committee meeting, we discussed changing the text of the zoning ordinance as it relates to home occupations. Members present at the committee meeting agreed with the staff proposal. The action taken will be make a recommendation to have the city attorney read a resolution authorizing Dave Hahn to file the necessary application with Kenton County Planning Commission to initiate this text change, and that will be read tonight under resolutions. Last but not least, also on February 16 committee meeting, it was discussed the necessity of having electrical inspection fees, which will be conducted by a certified and state-approved electrical inspector approved by the City Council in the form of an ordinance. The reason of this is for Erlanger to keep its approval from the Kentucky Department of Housing, Buildings, and Construction for expanded inspection jurisdiction. The action was to make a recommendation to the City Council hear the first reading of the ordinance adopting the requirements for the city to have expanded jurisdiction as it relates to the building inspections and plan review. And that will also be read tonight, first reading. And Mr. Hahn is in the house.
Nothing for Mr. Hahn.
All right, thank you. Next up, we've got Progress and Revitalization Committee. Mrs. Pitts, Mr. Cahill.
Nothing.
Ms. Skidmore, did you have anything that you'd like to report off on?
I sent out emails to everyone asking everyone to come up with at least one logo for our new logo that we want to do representing our city. And it should be simple, concise, not busy, and it should be able to be used on the vehicles, on our letterhead, on the gateway to the city, everything. Anybody that wants to submit anything is more than welcome. I'd like to have a they're supposed to be due, if you send anything in, it's supposed to be due by the 10th of March. And then I'd like to request a committee meeting on the 15th. And Sherry has graciously volunteered to kind of coordinate this so she can put it on a PowerPoint because my computer skills are like this much, if that much. So if anybody else can, and we have several already submitted, isn't that correct, Sherry?
That's correct.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything to add or any questions?
All right, thank you. All right, so I think that comes to the end of our reports and committees. Okay, so you've heard the report of our committees. Do I entertain a motion that we adopt as presented? Motion by Mr. Meyer, second by Mrs. Sudkamp. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Reports of representatives. Are there any reports from representatives this evening? Go ahead, Mrs. Skidmore.
I have one from the Kenton County Alliance, and it makes it really great because Kenton County Alliance moved their meeting to the first Tuesday of the month. So when I come in with my report, it's really accurate and it's valid because it only happened like 4 or 5 hours ago. And John Sterling has been assigned to be our representative since Mike Lemming was, and now he's promoted, so John Sterling is filling in that position. And we talked at the Kenton County, this was really interesting, I didn't know this. Kenton County Alliance talked about language barriers, like when the police officers pull somebody over and they don't speak English or any common language. Erlanger is actually hooked up to a phone line service that can translate any language to English for the officer and also the native language of the person that was being pulled over. I thought that was just awesome. Any language, because Kenton County Alliance was talking about only making it for Spanish, and John Sterling said, well, we have one that does everybody's. So that's, and I believe, and I might be speaking out of turn, he's not here, so I can say this. I think that somebody from Kenton County Dispatch actually came and talked to John Sterling and wanted to know how they could get involved and have this in their dispatch center. So I thought that was just kind of interesting. And then actually after our meeting was over, we bagged up our goodie bags for City Government Day, which is March the 24th. It's the Thursday before Good Friday, so all the kids are going to be hyped up anyway. So they thought that would be a good day to do the Government Day. Health and mental issues affects 1 in 4 in the elementary grades. I thought that was horrible. Tank bus ads for the Kenton County Alliance have expired, but I believe they told us that Tank would still leave them on their buses until someone else wants to purchase ads for the bus. They won't just automatically erase them because we're not paying for them anymore. And the take-back boxes where you take your old medicine because you don't want to flush it down the toilet or dump it down the sink or anything like that, because then it gets into our water and it just, you know, they're trying to get people to realize that you need to bring your excess medicine into the take-back boxes. Take-back boxes. Sorry, I get nervous. Anyway, last year, Kenton County had 15 take-back boxes. They collected 940 pounds of prescription drugs, and they collected 240 pounds of over-the-counter drugs. And the bonus is that when the empty bottles, when all the medicine is dumped out and the bottles are left, they donate the empty bottles to Physicians Without Borders, and then the other international countries can use, I'm sure they're clean, but they use these bottles then to reduce the cost of actually having to purchase the bottles to put the medicine in. And the number for the Poison Control Center is 1-800-222-1222. And I think that's all I had. Did I have any questions about anything I said that I can't answer?
I do. So what do they do with the prescriptions once they get it from the take-back boxes?
They incinerate it, I'm assuming.
Oh, okay.
And
That's
they,
what I
I mean, they destroy it.
Okay.
So they don't pass it out for free.
They don't take liquids anymore, though, I found out.
Do what?
They don't take liquids anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just found that out when I brought a bunch in.
All right, thank you, Renee. Next up, we've got the reports of city operations. I don't see Mr. Viox here tonight, so we'll skip on to the city attorney, Mr. Gatlin.
Yeah, first I apologize, Mayor and Council, for my tardiness. I was actually at the Ellesmere caucus meeting. I was first on the agenda. Wow, this is a hot mic tonight. I feel like it's karaoke night in Erlanger or something.
Welcome to city.
Wow. So I do apologize. They assured me that I would only take 5 to 10 minutes, and I left there at 6:59 thinking there's no way I can actually make it here on time from Ellesmere at 6:59. So I apologize for my tardiness. I was in Ellesmere discussing the SD1 potential litigation. I just want to quickly update the city on that. Currently, we have Fort Mitchell, Crestview Hills, Crescent Springs, Erlanger, Cold Spring, Independence, Bromley, Silver Grove, Park Hills, Fort Wright, and Lakeside Park, who have all formally passed resolutions joining our action. I also am very pleased to announce that I think sometimes, and Mr. Blankenship will get a kick out of this, sometimes you have to arm the missiles to negotiate peace. We have a settlement meeting with SD1 and Judge Knockelman on Friday. Mayor Hermes is going to be there along with Mayor Matone at Park Hills and Mayor Reinersman in Independence, with the idea that we're going to sit in a room and we're going to work this out and reach some resolution. Presuming resolution can be reached, we also are on the agenda for the next SD1 board meeting, which is March 15th. So I am cautiously optimistic that we can get this worked out. I think that it certainly, again, I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. But I think that having the show of force that we have with the majority of cities in Kenton County, certainly the larger cities in Kenton County, has certainly gotten the attention of SD1 and the county judge executives. So I'm hopeful that at our next meeting I can announce some positive results on that. Second, I wanted to briefly discuss, there's been a lot of discussion in the last month, and I know that people are here in the audience tonight potentially to speak as it relates to the Dixie Meat Market at 4210 Dixie Highway. And I wanted to just briefly address it as the city attorney. Mr. Ahmed, who is in our presence here this evening, approached the city of Erlanger just like any other business owner and wanted to locate his business in the city. So he came to the city building and he met with the zoning administrator and he applied for a permit. And the zoning administrator granted him that permit, and the permit was granted under Neighborhood Commercial Section 18 Food Store and Supermarket. In the eyes of the city of Erlanger at this point, Mr. Ahmed and his business are fully complying with the law. That being said, Mr. Ahmed's business, just like any other business in the city of Erlanger or any other resident in the city of Erlanger, has to continue to comply with the law. And specifically, Mr. Ahmed has met with the city administrator and other individuals in the city many times over the last month, specifically under Nuisance Ordinance 106.03, subsection K, the occurrence of any sound, odors, or anything else from any animal or animals on any lot or parcel of real estate in the city that unreasonably interferes in any way with the occupation, use, or enjoyment of any other lot or parcel of real estate in the city by any owner, tenant, occupant, resident, or user thereof is a nuisance. But at this point, there has not been a single formal complaint by anybody that Mr. Ahmed's business is in violation with any of our nuisance ordinances or any ordinance for that matter. So I just wanted the city council to understand that. I'm not sure if Mr. Fields is going to address this issue any further, but I just wanted to make that point clear.
All right, thank you, Jack. Next up, we've got the report from the city council attorney. Mr. Wickman, do you have anything to report?
Yes, Mayor. The only thing I have to report is we have received from American Legal the draft of the recodification, and Mr. Gatlin and I will be reviewing that in the next couple of months. We have to make a decision on all the revisions we want to implement within 60 days, so it's going to take a concentrated effort by both of us.
All right, thank you. And then lastly, we have the city administrator, Mr. Fields.
Yeah, to follow up on what Mr. Wickman just reported on the codification, we had a meeting this past week with all the department heads. They've each been given their section of the existing code to review, along with the report from American Legal about some of the changes that they suggested. 60 days, and I'm going to probably be asking the two attorneys here to maybe reach out to American Legal to give us a little longer than 60 days. It's about 1,000 pages, and to go through this, it's going to be very tedious for us to do. Each department is working on it. We have another follow-up meeting scheduled for next week to see what the progress is, but it is going to be a monumental undertaking for us to do this. Necessary, yes, but it's going to take us some time to get it done. Hopefully, we will make that 60-day limit, but we'll keep you all abreast. But there are going to be many things that are going to be brought back to you in ordinance form at some point in time by the two attorneys that we're going to have to review and either adopt, to bring the code up to date. So we are working on that one. We're finalizing the presentation for Saturday. So we'll be ready to move forward with that. I know that Mr. Blankenship and Ms. Pitts reported on that earlier. So we'll be ready for that, and we will try to get you out of here by noon. I see smiles, so I hope that's okay with everybody. On the 15th, along with the logo committee, we had already tried to schedule a KPI, the key performance indicator meeting for that same night. If we could still keep that on there, it would be great. I will do that first and get through that very quickly. I will give you all the updated information that I have before that time, so the meeting shouldn't take very long for us to go over, and then you can jump right into the KPI discussion, which may take, or not the logo discussion, which may take a little bit. So, on the facility study we had talked about at the last committee meeting, that RFP has been approved by the city attorney. They've got it completed. It's now with our insurance company. Ms. Hoffman is checking with them to make sure that we put the correct insurance requirements in that RFP before we put it out. Hopefully, she'll have that back sometime by the end of this week. When it is, we will get it advertised, and that's for the facility study that we've been discussing. So it'll be done by then. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. You've heard the reports of our representatives and city operations. Do I entertain a motion that we adopt as presented? Motion by Mrs. Kyle, second by Mrs. Skidmore. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next up, we've got correspondence. And before I ask you, Sherry, I do have a piece of correspondence that I wanted to share. I just got this today. This says, Mayor Hermes, I'm writing to express my appreciation for the assistance your staff gave us for the St. Elizabeth Sun groundbreaking ceremony on February 19th. Keeping 200 people safe when they are required to park in an emergency strip and walk on a busy street is not an easy task. But the Erlanger Police Department sure made it that way. From the first phone call to the city to the end of the event, there was total cooperation from the city. I want to especially thank City Administrator Mark Fields, Chief Tony Wilson, Sergeant John Sterling, and all the officers who assisted in making the day a success. Respectfully, Michael Kraft, Director of Security and Safety, St. Elizabeth Healthcare. Are there any other items of correspondence to share this evening, Mrs. Hoffman?
No, sir.
All right. Then we'll move on to the citizen public comments. We've got, looks like 8 people signed up to speak this evening. We will, we'll go with 3 minutes a person. I'll give you a little bit of a warning, I guess, a 30-second warning, 15-second warning before time's up. But let's go ahead and start with Beverly Fulweiler.
My main concern is when they have this market up here. I've lived in Erlanger all my life. I'm 61 years old, lived here all my life. I just was wondering about the being sanitized, how they're going to do the draining, because we have kids on that street and everything else. We were just wondering the safety of all this, and that, because that's our neighborhood. And we just want to make sure that everything is, up to code and everything else, because we're concerned.
Okay, thank you.
I can answer that one. First of all, that place is inspected every other month by the Northern Kentucky Health Department. You could get on the Northern Kentucky Health Department's website and look up, I believe it's food inspections. If you look it up, all of our local restaurants, all of our local grocery stores and markets are listed on there. I have seen the last 2 from the one of December and the one that was just completed in February. I'll tell you the store scored a 98 in December and a 99 in February. There is no other store in the city of Erlanger that scored that high. Also, SD1 has approved all the drainage in that facility. Special drains were put in to handle any kind of waste that comes out of there. They've all approved that with the sewer system. So that is up to code. Everything is up to code. USDA looks at this as custom processing, and they fall under that, and they've got the approval of the USDA to do that. So Mr. Ahmed is abiding by everything that's there, and as a matter of fact, they're very stringent regulations that had to be, installed and improved before he opened up his business, and that's all being done. So the neighborhood is safe. And I live 2 blocks from there also. I live right by Sunset, so yeah, it is.
All right, thank you. Next up, we've got Tanner Wise.
How y'all doing today? I'm Tanner Wise. I've been in the livestock business since I was probably 6 years old. And we do kill sheep and goats and steers and pigs. There is a stench. There is bacteria. There is a lot of stuff that goes on with these places. We do have a slaughterhouse in Boone County on Mount Zion Road. And this is hurting our business. It's not good. It's not feasible. It's not ethical. We have our slaughterhouse in the country. We don't have it in the city. But if this does pass, we will have one in the city of Erlanger. And if anybody has any questions or anything about our slaughterhouse in Boone County, I'll be more free to answer them for you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up we've got Herb, excuse me if I get this wrong. Cuthbertson, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Hi there.
Council folks. I wanted to say a few things. As far as this market is concerned, I received a letter on my doorknob, and before I get into the letter, what I want to say to all is, as long as any business, as was said before, is following all laws and all ordinances, then that business should be allowed to operate in this city, not only in this city, but in any city in the United States of America. Now, there are many people talking about this, but we have a heroin problem here in northern Kentucky, and if we can get a meeting and have this many people show up at something like this and not show up or not talk about anything as far as our kids are concerned with this heroin problem, I believe is a shame. Remember, when you drive into this city, this is the Friendship City. Remember that. And when you send a letter around, whoever sent it, and you preference the word Muslim, you are perpetrating fear. Please, those who want to operate within our city, I don't care what their religion is, that letter should have said anything but Muslim. I'm not Muslim. I do not take any religion because religion is dangerous and propaganda instills fear. So please, unless this business or any business is violating any laws, then they should be allowed to operate within the confines of the Friendship City.
All right. Good job. Thank you, Mr. Cuthbertson.
May I applaud?
Sure. All right, next up we've got Georgette and Ed Nordlow. Going to pass? I pass. Okay. Then we've got Joshua Weber.
That's good.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to come up and talk because I also received the same letter on my door, and I'm fairly new to the area, and I don't know anyone here, and I don't know anything about the business, but I really just wanted to come and hear basically what I've heard so far about the store, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, I feel like this was written out of fear and in a very negative way, and I just wanted to say that as a new resident, I don't support this kind of an attitude, and I just wanted to be in support of the store as long as it's complying with the law.
All right.
So.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, next we've got Joshua Spicer. Did I say that right? Yeah. All right.
Well, I actually came down here thinking that I was going to have a fight. I received that letter as well, and it really hurt my feelings. I had to explain to my children why somebody left a letter that came off very hateful. It was extremely hateful. The fact that they had to mention that it was a Muslim-ran restaurant within the first 6 words just came off as more of a, as that gentleman, as the other Joshua pointed out, it seemed like it came from fear. And I just wanted to come here and say, of course he had to meet every sort of requirement. He had to do everything in his power in order to open this. And who are we to tell somebody in America that they can't make a living just because of their beliefs? Because that's how this letter came off. It wasn't because of the smell and all that. Yeah, that was mentioned in the 3rd paragraph. It was because he was a Muslim. And that's what was mentioned 6 times in that letter. That was offensive to me.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Next up, we've got Rainey. How do you say your last name, Rainey? Baker. Oh, okay.
That's a tough one.
Look like, yeah, it's a handwriting issue. I promise.
At least it's not Smith.
I really wasn't planning on speaking unless I got upset because I, like some of the other people, I feel like that even on the news they were making it into a big deal that it was Muslims, and my questions have nothing to do with anybody's religion, and I certainly don't want someone who put their life savings into their store, their dreams, to have to go out of business. My questions revolve more around, some of the things in the letter did, I did want to question some of that. I personally have not had any kind of a smell that I've noticed. And I live 7 doors down on Sunset. But it's been cold, so that is a question that I have. Is it, when it gets warm, wherever the byproducts are going to be stored, are we going to smell that? The back of your store meets up to the woods in the back of my house. So, I feel like that's a valid concern. Is that going to happen? Sure.
Yeah, so, I kind of addressed that, and I know, when a lawyer talks, generally people tune out. I get it. I tune out too when lawyers talk. So obviously if there's anybody, just like with this business or any other business, if there's anybody who smells something, if anybody hears anything, if there's any kind of nuisance, bring it to the city's attention, and then a code enforcement officer will look into it.
Right, but does that normally happen when they're slaughtering animals? I don't know, So, okay, so that would be a concern of mine, but we're not going to know that till it gets warm. And, you're obviously very willing to work within everything that we need to do to make sure that we all coexist nicely. I really feel like it's a cultural difference. I'm a city girl. I know my cows get butchered, but I don't have to think about that. So when you put that in my backyard, I go, that's a little lamb or a goat. Are you kidding? And I really feel like that's a lot of our issue. We really do want to welcome you to that neighborhood. That's place of business has been all kinds of things. Yeah. So we hope you're successful, and we want you to be here. We just are a little bit concerned about some of the things that we're not used to being city folk. We go and buy our stuff. We don't know how all that works. So I feel bad that people have treated you that way, or you've been made to feel that way. I don't feel like it's that way. And we want to welcome you to the neighborhood. That's great. We need some new businesses. We've got enough empty stores that aren't filled. So that's wonderful. So it's nice to know if we do have a problem, we can come and, let you know and let you all know about that. And you said the drainage, the sewage was fine. That's not going to affect our sewage or our water, anything that they're draining. None of that's going to be a problem. So you know, that pretty much answered my question. But welcome. Sorry, it's this way.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, then next we have Raula. Rula.
Rula. Hello, welcome, Rula.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm a lifelong Kentuckian and Erlanger resident since 2010, and I came here in support of Dixie Meats. I am somebody who frequents the store and benefits from the service that's being provided. Before the store being here, I had to go into Cincinnati and sometimes a little bit farther into Cincinnati to get items, and sometimes it was fairly inconvenient because if I had people coming over last minute, I needed to get certain products and I would have to travel. So it's a service that's definitely of benefit to Erlanger residents. But I particularly came here because I was concerned about the flyer, I saw it, and I was concerned about the tone of it and multiple inaccurate and irrelevant references to Islam and Muslims. These are really difficult times for the American Muslim community, and I wanted to come here to support Mr. Ahmed and to support the store. And I have to say, my heart is warmed to no end by the comments that were just made and the applause that followed by my fellow Kentuckians, my fellow Erlanger residents. It just warms my heart to know that there are other people that came to support him even outside of our faith. And that's the Erlanger that I know and I'm really proud to live in. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, then last up we've got Ellen Bungenstock. Thank you. If I have trouble with Baker, I mean. Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah, I don't bake, I cook. My name is Ellen Bungenstock, and I'm new to Erlanger. I just got married and just moved here, and I just wanted to add my voice to the support of Dixie Meats. When I got this letter, I was really disturbed and outraged. I cried a little bit. I'm pregnant, and I can't imagine having to explain to my kids what's in this letter. The fact that it was accompanied by a flyer from a church was doubly disturbing. It was in the door handle with this letter. This is not doors open. This is not the kind of language that should represent any religion in Erlanger, in America, in the world. It's really sad. In the second paragraph, they said, "These are not proper procedures for the heart of the city of Erlanger." I agree. This is not proper for the city of Erlanger. This is the heart of our city. It's where I live. It's where you all live. And so I'm just really proud of everyone coming out to support this. And I just wanted to add my voice to the cacophony of outrage just to make sure that this opinion was heard. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ellen.
I'd like to make one comment about that. I live on your street. We live on the same street. But well, and my son does also. He lives up on the other end also, and that flyer was put in his door the same way it was yours, with the two together. Mine wasn't received that way. I had the flyer from the church was actually in my door, and the flyer about the market was actually underneath my welcome mat. So I don't believe the church did that. I believe it was two separate people. I know it was confusing. My son thought the very same thing, and that's what when he came down to my house and he said, "Look at what we've gotten." You know, and so I just wanted to clarify that. I'm not real sure. I mean, they were put the same day. I didn't see who put it. I just don't think it was the church that did it.
Can't imagine church would do that.
Right. Yeah. I don't think that, yeah.
Fortunate timing.
That was good.
On
Right.
my street, we got the church flyer, but we didn't get the letter until you had sent it to me.
Right.
So
Okay.
there was no letter with my invitation to the church.
Okay.
Yeah. They had the same feelings. That was out there. Yes.
Thank you for clarifying
And
that.
just, one more comment. As far as proper butchering and slaughtering practices go, it is true that different people do different things. And it is true that some people have very poor practices where there can be instances where certain smells can arise because of poor sanitation practices and poor methodology. But as an instructor at Cincinnati State and a professional butcher, knowing how to slaughter animals properly, knowing how to kill them humanely, doesn't matter if it's kosher, it doesn't matter if it's halal, it doesn't matter if it's American style. You can do it right, and you can do it safely, and you can do it within any kind of city. It doesn't have to be in a rural area to do it safely and to do it right and to be able to do it cleanly. Because the whole idea of slaughtering animals is you want to treat them kindly. You want your animals to be raised as nice as possible. You want them to be treated with the utmost respect during their lives, because that gives you the best meat. It doesn't matter what religion, what kind of practice you're doing. The only problem with our slaughtering practices in the States is the commercialized industry that we have that's done on a massive production scale. So now that I'm aware of this, if I want the freshest, probably most humane, safest meat, I'm gonna go to this gentleman's store and buy it when I can't get it at school. Because anybody that's receiving almost 100% from the health department and from being in the industry for over 15 years in our state, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And to know that he's surpassed normal USDA standards is also unbelievable. And so for people to hand out a flyer like this, it's really sad and disturbing.
Would you mind stating your name for the record?
My name is Danny James Bungenstock. I live on James Avenue also with Ellen.
Thank you.
I'm the husband.
Thank you. Thank you. Renee, did you have something you wanted to mention?
I was just going to reiterate that the Jehovah's Witnesses came around, and because I answered the door, I didn't get the postcard, but I got their literature, and I did not get one of the derogatory flyers about the meat market.
That flyer that was in there is Pentecostal, it wasn't Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, okay, well, maybe they were all out, because I thought mine was all out.
Good weather. All right, that's all we have that's signed up to speak. Is there anybody else? Sure, please.
Yes, sir.
Just state your name.
Yes, sir. Hi, my name is Jennifer Montgomery, and I know him very well. I've sold to him animals and stuff, and I'm very interested in opening, like Mr. Tanner said, a slaughterhouse. I have told him before I was very, very interested in doing it, and I was curious about the guidelines. Like he was saying, you know, he has all his holding tanks and, you know, the stench and everything, but there's more than that to it. You know, there's pelts, there's skins, there's, you know, more, you'll be having traffic. And I want to make sure that if I want to spend my $75,000 in opening a business to let the Nepalians, the Haitians, the Africans, anybody that wants to come to my facilities and slaughter their animals for their own beliefs, I will be more than happy to do that too. And I do back him. I know him, he's a personal friend, and he cannot say he isn't because he is. And I personally want to open this, and I want to make sure there's no loopholes in this to say, hey, in 6 weeks we're going to shut you down, because I don't want that. I want to be able to be straight-laced and say, hey, you know, I would like to have this open.
So you're interested in opening a slaughterhouse?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, but
Mr. Hahn is here this evening, and he can help you with some of the zoning guidelines.
Yes.
Will you raise your hand, David? And I'll be happy to meet with you as well after the meeting.
Oh, that would be awesome. But no, I greatly appreciate your time. But, you know, I want to open this too. You know, there's nothing wrong with this.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda is our bids. Mrs. Hoffman, do we have any bids to review this evening? Okay. Then we've got old business. Does anybody have any unfinished business that we need to bring up? Mr. Dunhoft?
Yes, speaking for the Erlanger Lions Club, for several years now, for over 65 years, we had a carnival in this city. And for the last 2 years, we haven't been able to have one because we haven't been able to come up with a good ride company. So we have obtained a ride company that started our carnival 65 years ago. The old Kissel brothers are back.
Oh, JD, that's fabulous.
We got the Kissel brothers to come and do rides, and we haven't had a good ride company for little kids, the middle kids, the teenage kids, the adult kids, and the adults. So they're coming with 13 rides this year. We will be doing all the old fish fry kitchen like we did in the past, and it's good to say the Erlanger Lions Carnival is back after a 2-year hiatus. It's going to be Memorial Day weekend. We will be the first carnival out of the gate. I encourage everybody to come up and see what's going to happen because We have gone from a club back when I was president, and we had a good carnival with 165 members, to where we have 59 members today. So we're going to pull this off. I've got some organizations that's helped me do this. The schools are involved in it. The city's going to be involved in it. And please come up. It's going to be a good time. It'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Memorial Day weekend, and you'll be off on Memorial Day. So come up. It'll be different. We're going to start out small, but I guarantee you that if it rains, you will not leave, because we've got a tent big enough that we're putting everything underneath these tents. You will not get wet. So.
That's great news.
That's awesome.
That's great
But we're
news.
back.
Yeah.
Good. I just want everybody to know that.
All right. Thank you, JD.
You're welcome.
Is there any new business to discuss this evening?
Yes, sir. I'm going to be a grandma next Thursday.
Again?
Congratulations, Patty.
I know.
8 is enough, I told them.
Especially if you got them all at one time.
Yeah.
Oh,
really.
wow, yeah.
All right, then we'll move on to legislation. First up is an ordinance regarding vehicle towing and auto repair. It's a second reading.
This is an ordinance amending the Erlanger zoning ordinance, adding vehicle towing and auto repair as a conditional use within the BP zone. The proposed text amendment adding vehicle towing and auto repair as a conditionally permitted use within the BP1 zone. The proposed text amendment is appropriate. The proposed text amendment adding vehicle towing and auto repair as a conditional use within the BP1 zone is consistent with the purpose of the BP1 zone and is consistent with the goals and objectives and recommendations in the Direction 2030, Your Voice, Your Choice Comprehensive Plan.
All right, do I entertain a motion to adopt this? Motion by Mrs. Sedkamp, second by Mrs. Kyle. Any discussion? We have a roll call vote.
Ms. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Cahill?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Sudkamp?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Blankenship?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Howard?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pitts?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Kyle?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Burke?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dunhoff?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, motion carried. Next item is an ordinance regarding fees for electrical inspections. It's a first reading.
This is an ordinance of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, adopting the 2013 Kentucky Building and Residential Codes and repealing all prior ordinances in conflict therewith, designating the enforcement officer and building inspection program, as well as a schedule of fees for permits and/or inspections. By summary, this is a housekeeping matter that was brought to our attention by the Commonwealth of Kentucky. This is merely just a way to memorialize the fee schedule so that we can continue doing what we've always been doing, which is inspections for the state.
All right, I'll ask that the city clerk please note that we've had our first reading. Next up is a resolution regarding the state street transfer.
It's resolution number 03-01-16-01, whereas the Erlanger City Council does hereby resolve and agree to accept the ownership and maintenance responsibilities of the following roads: Kentucky 2975 Baker Street from KY 236 Commonwealth Avenue to Erlanger Road at a distance of .093 miles, Kentucky 2978 Hartman Road from KY 236 Donaldson Road to North Erlanger Road, a distance of .310 miles, and KY 3235 Holly Lane from KY 236 Donaldson Road south to the end of, state maintenance, a distance of .311 miles.
Okay. I'm sitting here looking at the resolution as Jack was reading that, and they do, well, let me just ask this. Okay, so do I entertain a motion that we adopt this? Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Mr. Burke. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that makes it a lot easier, because and that's what I was getting ready to say. They call out the ayes and nays. If everybody's in agreement, then that makes it a whole lot easier. Thank you. Then lastly, we have a resolution regarding in-home businesses.
So resolution number 03-01-16-02, a resolution sponsoring a proposed text amendment. This is related to modifying section 9.11 governing home occupations. We discussed this at the committee meeting. where we would be adding the final 3 things that are italicized there to the text amendment, and also making the selling of any commodity shall be ancillary to the home occupation and done primarily through the internet or telecommunication.
All right, do I entertain a motion? Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Mrs. Kyle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. All right, with that, do I entertain a motion that we adjourn? Motion by Mrs. Kyle, second by Mrs. Pitts.
Mayor,
Meeting
can I
adjourned.
say something first?
I didn't hit the gavel, so I guess so.
Thank you. All I want to do is say that I've probably sat through more council meetings than anybody in this room since Mr. Vioxx isn't here. And all I want to say is I don't think I've ever been more proud of the city of Erlanger than I have been this evening.
I totally agree,
Oh, I
Frank.
know.
I
Totally
totally
not what I
agree.
expected.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.